It's a bad time to say, "Can I go for a toilet break?"
It's definitely a bad time to call for a book break, as I've
I'm
just
joking.
kicked off the stream and I'm just introducing everybody to you, Edo. So, hi, it's Lee Cassidy from Tactile Technology, and Edo Cannarsa from Verkada has just interrupted me as I was just to do my introduction. So, on a Friday, we do our Verkada Friday, and it's all about Verkada, smart cameras, and also access control. And we've got Edo with us, who's the channel manager for the UK. Edo and I have known each other quite a while because of a relationship from a previous company, which was Meraki, which originally came out of MIT as a project and then became an organisation developing cloud controlled and managed Wi-Fi infrastructure, but then spread into switching and the rest of things. So, welcome. How are you, Edo?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, I shan't
Friday
invite you
afternoon.
again if you interrupt me before I do my introduction. Okay.
Yeah, it's that's what you get with me.
So tell us a bit about yourself, a bit of your background. We were talking earlier. You're originally your family's from Italy, from the Naples area.
Yeah,
So tell us a bit more
yeah,
about Edo and where you're from and the usual bits.
sure, sure. So, thanks for having me, by the way, Lee. It's great to be a part of, I guess, the live stream that you're providing now, which is awesome. And I'm following, by the way, which is great to see on a weekly basis. Yeah, I'm Edo. I'm leading the channels across the EMEA region here at Verkada. So, predominantly started off my studies in computer science some time ago now, which I didn't actually enjoy at the time, but it was the thing that I was good at school. So was pushed into it. Like most, I guess, teenagers at the time don't know what they want to do in life. Within one of my third year projects, I actually sold the actual business, which wasn't really a business, it was more of an idea. And I realized I really enjoyed selling. So I got into my first sales job, which was Softcats, which was an IT reseller, which was very local. So from the south near Marlow, very much enjoyed my time at Softcats. And then moved into Meraki, which was pre-acquisition. Um, you know, incredible business, great culture, very similar to Softcat was. It got bought out by
How many
Cisco.
years were you in that Meraki before it was sold?
I was only there 6 months
6
before it
months
was sold.
before, yeah.
6 months before it was sold. Very much startup. I was the eighth salesperson in the office, so it was very I'd say raw, but a fantastic culture nonetheless. We were bought out by Cisco. Not much changed actually when the Cisco acquisition happened. I would say another 6 to 12 months where we saw a bit of a change. You know, the landscape within the channel was changing for the better actually. And there were some people at the time who were, I guess, a bit worried that Cisco had acquired us. But you know, for me, it was a fantastic acquisition, fantastic to be a part of. The business grew extremely quickly, going from a 100 million plus business to a billion within 4 years. So I was very fortunate to be on that journey.
Was it
And left after
was it
that billion
1.8
turnover.
billion or something they bought it for? It's something like that, wasn't it?
So yeah, it was close. It's 1.2 billion. They
1.2.
sold it to Cisco. Yeah. If we look at the acquisitions today, it seems relatively low, considering how Meraki is doing today, right? So probably in most businesses, I can imagine. So yeah, left that at a billion. I went off and did my own project for a while, which was fantastic learning experience. It didn't go too great, but nonetheless, I'm still here. Then started at Cyberism, first guy on the channel there across the EMEA region, built out the channel landscape. It was another friend of mine who was at another company actually from Meraki, and they wanted me to jump over. So I thought, okay, well, I love the Meraki team, love the Meraki crew, so let's go and do it. And long story short, I'm now at Verkada, same founder as Meraki, as most people are aware of right now. So there's quite a few of us ex Meraki in the UK as well as in the US working for this team, which is pretty exciting to be at.
And I get a feeling that they've taken a very similar approach to the way they'd looked at things at the Meraki days, where it was looking to simplify the infrastructure, make it easier to deploy and operate, from a Wi-Fi perspective originally, but then later on security products and also switching. But it sounds very familiar, that message, when you look at what Verkada are doing now.
And it's such a strong message. So if we look at organizations today where, especially in times like these, where they're currently in a situation where they need to manage their networks or their sites remotely, the challenge they face is that they have to go on sites to actually see what's going on. And to be honest with that, you have extra hardware, you have boxes, you have no visibility, there's no centralized management. So the headaches that Meraki was tackling back in the day with Wi-Fi and switching and MDM and firewalls and also CCTV cameras, it's simplifying the networks for them, but for us it's very much simplifying physical security. So when I joined Verkada, the way I see that the proposition is we're building out the OS for physical security within commercial properties. So today we have an incredible CCTV proposition, which simplifies the management, the remote monitoring, incident response, getting to the root cause of an incident extremely quick and in my opinion, far better than anyone else in the market space.
Well,
but we also have an incredible integrations with access control. And potentially there's other things happening in the near term with other solutions.
Yeah, because what I've seen in the short time we've been working with yourselves at Verkada is really quick deployment of new features and functionalities. So originally it was the key message was simplifying by not having to have network components, just the camera and a network to the internet. And that's all you needed for it to work. And then additional features and functionality were coming along rapidly, and also new physical products. So the bullet cameras, I think, are amazing. Especially the quality of them, the HDR color and everything. It really makes a big difference. And everyone I've shown the solution being so impressed by how simple it is to utilize. Things like picking two images and be able to synchronize those from two different cameras. It's so easy to use, isn't it? So that might be a good point to go on to something like tell us your top three things that you can fix for any organization, enterprise or education, with Verkada.
Sure. I mean, great question. There's so many running through my head right now, and it really comes down to I guess the customer, whether it's a public sector or corporate institute. Their pain, what's the challenge they face today? So the first way I see it is physical security today. CCTV camera systems can be a tick box exercise, and you can buy cameras for £50. You can go on eBay and you can probably buy one for £20. But if you look at monitoring multiple cameras and multiple sites, that gets a bit difficult to do, right? So centralized management is certainly one of the key things that we really help organizations do. And so whenever I bring up the actual demo itself, the first question I ask prospects is, how long would it take you to put up a map with all your different sites and locations, all your different camera systems, and tell me whether or not it's online or offline? And the answer is always the same. It's always too long. Okay, so we really take it for granted, having worked at Meraki, knowing how simple it is and getting a real live system right in front of your eyes. We take it for granted. We really do. And the second question I ask prospects is, how do you know if a camera goes offline? Giving that proactive notifications around whether or not your CCTV is online or offline is critical, because it goes back to the notion of, why do you have CCTV today? You have to have a tick box. It has to be working. If something happens, you have to get to the root cause, and by law, you have to give it within 30 days. And what we do, like you said so well earlier, Lee, was we make it very simple. We make it very easy to do. We give you the rapid deployment. So even in today, in a pandemic, you can deploy a camera to two cameras, and instantly you'll see the power behind the technology itself.
Yeah, because
centralized management is probably my favorite, but although we take it for granted.
Yeah, because a lot of times people only know the cameras aren't working when they actually pick one of the cameras up to watch it, and they see there's a blue screen or something, there's no feed from it, they don't know in advance a lot of times that the camera has failed, or when it failed. Even it could be off 6 months. Especially with some of the lower cost systems you were talking about before, they may never have worked, and you've got no protection. All you've got is you might as well have a dummy camera there. For all
You
it
might as
is.
well have dummy camera
Yeah.
there. Yeah. I guess my second one, following on from that statement, Lee, is instant response. So having to check it for a reason. So typically, organizations checking it now because maybe someone's stolen an iPad, for example, and that could be troublesome. Having to go on site, having to go there, having to see that camera's failed, and then having to go through another NVR box. And by the way, an NVR box may be out of date and not secure anymore, and there may be some security issues, but that's another story for another time. But having to get the footage off of that and having to fast forward and rewind, and it just being not good enough quality, or being able to get to that information in a timely manner isn't suffice. So incident response with what I believe Verkada's the best in the business, because not only do we give live feeds or historical feeds of all of our cameras instantly at anywhere, anytime in the world, but we make it very easy to search. So what you'll see when you have a demonstration, and hopefully the people viewing can jump on a webinar with us, which we have weekly, you'll see that we have some great search functionality with filters. So we can search males, females, red tops, green trousers, maybe it's an elf you're looking for, right? So you can search anything, and you'll get that footage instantaneously. And one step further, with things like facial recognition, being able to track and trace individuals. So one of the most commonly used features I see today from businesses here in the UK is, as we return to work, and the question I ask prospects is, how are you currently using track and trace within your business? And the answer is we do so manually, which means piece of paper, people come into the building, and walk me through that procedure if you're having to go through if someone's tested positive within an organization. And again, the answer is too long to go through. So our technology allows you to upload a photo of an individual's face, and you can instantly see where they've been across all your sites, all of your locations that you may have, and you can see who they've been interacting with. So instead of shutting down an organization with the whole site going back down to Groundhog Day, we can just tell those individuals to please go self-isolate for 2 weeks because you've been in contact with someone who's tested positive. So getting to an incident, getting to the root cause with our solution by far is incredible. And I think when customers see it and they've felt that pain before, they're willing to spend the money on a solution that can help them.
Yeah, because I think people sometimes don't realize how complicated and how difficult things are. Like finding multiple clips of a particular individual across multiple cameras. It's not as easy as people think. And if you're having to do it manually by actually, looking through the footage to do it, it takes a long time, a hell of a long time. And the amount of man hours you might put into something over looking at footage over even just a couple of days, is an enormous amount of effort, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And then to add to that point, it's all the laws around that we have in the UK as well. We have GDPR, and so for example, if there was an incident, maybe there's some people passing by where there's been a break-in. We can't use that footage in the court of law. If there's people walking by without having to blur people's faces. So we have unique features that allow you to be compliant, readily available at no extra cost, which allows you to actually use that footage when you need to. And again, I probably didn't mention this earlier, but the ability to store footage as well and share. So we allow you to get to the root cause obviously very easily, but again, what do you do with it? So typically, having seen some incidents whilst working here, the UK Police Department requesting footage on CDs and delivering it to certain locations. We have this powerful tool which allows us to share footage via live links or text messages. So that way the police department can actually see in real time of maybe an incident happening before it's actually gone through what shouldn't have happened. And even the police department here in the UK are blown away by it, which is fantastic to see. And then being able to store it, and storing clips on our in our AWS, which is local here in the EU, is free. So really giving the power to the end customer now through an incident is truly remarkable. And some of the customers we speak with today, and we have some great customers presenting on our lunch and learns in the coming weeks, and they'll all say, look, outside of everything, it's really easy to use, but we give everything to the customer out of the box. It's there. There's no extra add-ons required unless you want to do something really fancy. The key things you need are there to help you with incident response.
Yeah, and coming back to that, getting the clips. In the past, I always remember people using discs to write images onto, and then they would post them to the police or hand deliver them, and it was a nightmare. Having the ability to pick up either a clip or multiple clips that are tied, so two different camera angles of an incident, and then be able to just one, archive it, but then share it with the police service, I think is such an easy thing to do, because all they're actually getting though is a link to see it on the system. So there's nothing happens to be sent anywhere, and also you can limit the time they've got access to that clip, and it's only that clip that you've archived that they're allowed to see, isn't it?
Absolutely, and you can revoke that at any time. So the troublesome things in the past where you'd send it in the post and not know if the CD's gone missing or not because they haven't received it. Imagine that happens today, then there's some big problems at hand. But being able to revoke that link as of when you need to, extremely powerful. And because it's all digital, there's a digital footprint. There's an audit trail. Everything's there. We can see who's using it, for how long for, what features are they pressing on. And we can revoke that. We can move that out of their hands very easily. And going to your great question, the third thing is the analytics out of the box. So things like, and I touched upon earlier, was facial recognition is just remarkable. One of the most powerful things we have. But there's other things like motion notifications, extremely common used feature we have that really helps. So prior to an incident, being notified of if, for example, there's an individual going to your cabinet, your comms cabinet, and why is this individual coming down this area of the building where they shouldn't be? And getting an instant message, the same way we can share links to your mobile phone device via text, the same way you get an instant message, notifying them. And again, we've seen this with clients here in the UK where they have a lot of PPE stored in cabinets, and people just take out what they want as much as they want, but nonetheless, this costs the business money. So being notified if too many individuals are going and taking away storage, and you can see that on your mobile phone device, you don't have to be on site. You are protecting your assets remotely. So having motion notifications is an extremely powerful tool. The other one that I find extremely relevant during COVID is crowd notifications. So another notification tool which allows us to understand, if there's too many individuals or even vehicles in a certain camera. So as we go back to the office, personally, my health and safety is almost priority number one as I'm back in the office, because I have a little one at home, and I don't want to be spreading COVID, anyway, but nonetheless to my family. And going to lobby areas where there's potentially more people, and going to lifts where I'm not really that comfortable sharing a lift with anybody, limiting that to two people in a camera view, so that way we're knowing that people aren't going to be hulling into a lift together when there's 4, 5, 6, 7 people where they shouldn't be. And if that is the case, then HR can deal with that accordingly. And again, if we look at the canteen area, why are people always congregating together? There's 10 or 12 people. We shouldn't be doing that.
I would assume
really
that would work
important.
well in a retail environment as well. So, so a food retailer, having a camera on a particular aisle, and when you get more than say 10 or 20 people in that space, to say, look, there's a problem because there's too many people in this particular aisle. Because they do, try and limit the number of people in specific areas, don't they?
Mm-hmm. And going on from that, us as a retailer, we can't allow this. So instead of allowing people going in most multi-directional, let's remove that and just go one directional now. And we're going to have to buy some stickers on the floor to make sure that it's a one-way system instead of a multi-directional one, for the safety of the the people coming into the store. So this is extremely powerful. It allows for some incredible business intelligence outside of what you would expect from a traditional CCTV manufacturer. And this is all included. This isn't extra line items or SKU codes or anything else you need to add on per camera. This is across the board.
So tell us a little bit about some of your, recent wins. So customers who've bought it in the UK. I'm sure you can only tell us about specific ones that have given you permission, but tell us a little bit about what they were trying to achieve and the size of the implementations, if you've got some idea of some of them.
Absolutely. So one of my favourite, and I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his name, is Jace Keane from Citrix Systems. Citrix Systems, obviously, a very known software company that most people know. I mean, this story is brilliant because Jace, as an individual, has multiple responsibilities, as most people do in IT and operations. He manages multiple sites, many locations globally, and CCTV is one component of many things, right? So, having taken on the CCTV project, one of the biggest challenges he faced was in that time when he inherited CCTV systems across the organization. There's many different suppliers across many different sites, across many different countries, all with different renewals, MVR boxes, camera systems that he had no idea about, right? So, if we look at the problem, Jace at Citrus was solving was really just getting visibility of what's happening across all my different locations centrally, so that way I can manage those accordingly. And funnily, I spoke with Jace not long ago, and I said, look, what's the best thing about Verkada? And he said, look, your tech is fantastic. I love how easy it is to use. Your dashboard is great. You've got loads of features. But actually, the best thing that I love about your system is the 10-year hardware warranty and the 24/7 support.
Yeah.
Right. So listen to this. So he was like, your software is great. Don't get me wrong. But I get a notification to my phone to say this camera in X location has gone down. Your support team calls me up and they ship out a camera next day delivery, and my team in that location just plugs it in. Rapid deployment, extremely quick. Right. So that is, truly, how easy do you want to make it for me? He said to me, right, which I always remember because I think, like, how do we make it so easy? But he said, when looking to sign off the project, and we looked at all these different maintenance contracts, all these different suppliers, all these different vendors, typically the hardware warranty within these companies are, 1 year for outdoor, 3-year maximum, really. And so over time, even though camera systems are there to last, you buy it and you just forget about it. But unfortunately, if you do forget about it, then you've truly forgotten about it and you don't know until you've got that problem.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people have these problems. So he said, we know when I went to the finance team, within that 10-year period, as long as I knew I had to renew my license, there's no hidden costs. There's no extra professional services required. There's no extra maintenance costs, support contracts. There's nothing outside of this cost. So when I went to go sign it off, for me, it was easy. And when I went to take it to the CFO, he said it's a no-brainer because we're saving so much money over time, but also time.
Well, I've spoke to a couple of quite large sites where they've got a reasonably large number of cameras, but they've been there a fair amount of time, and they're looking at losing between 10 and 15% of their cameras a year. So you're having to keep replacing those because once they're over, let's say, a year old, in mostly in an outdoor situation, you've got no warranty. So they're replacing a very large number of cameras on a regular basis.
Yeah, and it's costly. So one of those things, it just makes I think the purchase process is a lot simpler with ours. You're covered. That peace of mind in the back of my head, having that insurance of that is amazing. So if I look at Jason Keenan, actually he's on a webinar with us next month, going through a lunch and learn. So certainly promote that on here to your audience, Lee, because that's going to be a great one with Jace.
Well, if you've got a link, if you provide me the link, I'll stick it in as one of the comments. Or if you want to drop it into the comments later today, that would be really good.
Absolutely. And realistically, if we look at today, why customers are buying today during these times with COVID, it's monitoring locations remotely and knowing that there's high valuable assets still in your building. So you may not be going back to the office, or you may not be planning to go back to the office. Nonetheless, you have assets there how do you know everything is okay? How do you know your factory is working in order? How are you going there now? Do you know because people are there? Like, what is actually happening? So the ability to not be big brother, but nonetheless, you have to have a responsibility of your organization and the sites that you have today. So even if you do change your mind, you may not be going back to that office. You still need some visibility across that. And then lastly, it's really, truly, how are we going to get our staff back into the office safely? So, utilizing the crowd notifications and track and trace really does help with health and safety. Physical security nonetheless, absolutely. But also making sure that if there is COVID, we reduce the risk of not having, no one in the office again. Because like me, I love being back in the office. I love seeing the staff here. And I think for our business, even though, relatively smaller one, as we're relatively new in the UK, the culture is extremely important. But also so is productivity. Productivity is extremely important. And like I said earlier on the phone, I've got a little young one at home. So if he's screaming and crying at home, I can certainly hear it. And here I can just get on with work. Do these interviews with you, Lee, without, a screaming kid in the background. So that's important. I see that happening a lot.
Yeah. I'd say looking at, we did this session with Luke a couple of weeks ago, and I think that access control piece is really unique as well. I've not seen anything that's as simple to implement, where you're doing all your access control for your doors, but also a tight integration between cameras as well. So, if you've got a door and you've got two cameras, you can associate the two cameras with the door. And then if you get an acknowledgement to open and they've gone through, you get a clip of them going through, and it's the person, the time, and how they actually access the door, whether it's swipe card or whether it's using their phone, the mobile app. And if they were denied, why they were denied, and a picture of them being, on the side of the door that they weren't allowed in as well. So I think that's really an interesting way of doing things, and that tight integration, I think, is really important.
Yeah, and it's not, we're not the only ones who are doing it, but the way we do it just allows it to be a lot easier to be seen, and utilizing a platform where we have such an incredible CCTV platform alongside access control makes it extremely compelling. But one of my favorite things about the access control is now we have a digital audit trail, and to search, whether or not there's been a door held open, or maybe there's an intruder, for example. We can actually use our cameras to see who that person is alongside our access control. And if there is a problem, we can lock down certain areas within the building, right? So the ability to do that remotely is extremely powerful. And I think when it comes down to the ease of deployment, certainly a massive benefit within our access control. But something like you said, the 2 and 2 together, it just makes it a lot easier to manage code, together.
Yeah, and so it's been great having you. We're just coming up to half an hour now. It's 27 minutes. So I'll try and keep these down to about 15 to 20 minutes. But I think we had so much to talk about, and that use case with Citrix is a great one as well, and some of the benefits that we're getting there. So it was worth continue with the conversation. But it'd be great to get you back and talk about other customers, and it'd also be great to set up some kind of maybe live event where we can do a bit of a lunch and learn, maybe through a LinkedIn live event at some stage, and just invite a load of people to it and go through some of the basics, functionality, and what they get for it as well, and the experience of maybe a customer on that event as well.
Absolutely, absolutely, I'd love to. But thank you for having me, Lee.
That's it. Well, thanks ever so much for your time today. Enjoy your weekend, as it's Friday. We're off to the weekend. Sounds like we're having quite a different week from next week. We're down to 6 on Monday, but from Tuesday we're down to our own household in Birmingham. So we may not be seeing anybody physically for a little while. So enjoy the freedom that you've got at the moment. See you later.